Hi, I'm Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. Today is my monthly musing video where I share all the good things about my tarot practice or anything that I'd like to share that has been going on in my life. I talk about decks I've used, the way I've used them, new decks that have come in, maybe things that I've been watching, books that I've read, all of that good and happy stuff with you. And as you can see from what's in front of me, I used quite a bit, and this is not even all the decks I used. And I'll explain that when we get to this. So I'm going to clean this stuff off and we're going to dive right into decks because I have a lot of things to share. Oh, I am going to say two quick reminders before I talk about this past life oracle. My channelversary, my 2-year channelversary is coming up, I believe August 11th. And in case you don't visit the community tabs here on YouTube, a few weeks ago I posed a question of get to know me. What questions would you have for me if you wanted to get to know me? And I'm going to do a Q&A video around those questions for my 2-year channelversary here. So if you didn't leave a comment or a question on my community tab, or if you've come up with an additional question that you'd like to ask me, please make sure that you leave it in the comments below, because I am going to be making that video, filming that video very soon, and I'm thinking about putting that video up as a premiere. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Maybe I'll test the waters with it so we can live chat with one another during it. And that's my thoughts anyway. I'm not ready to do lives yet, so that's my like toe in the water kind of thing. And so, but yeah, if you do have any questions for me to get to know me, it doesn't have to necessarily be about my practice. It could be about life in general, and make sure you leave that below, because I am going to try to film that video at the end of this week so I can get it scheduled and edited and so on. And the second reminder is, in case you didn't know, I am going to do an Ehrenberg study, which I think I've mentioned on the last couple videos that I've done. Please understand that my deck studies are chill, laid-back deck studies. Yes, they're set to a schedule, but I don't want anybody to feel pressured about anything. No one's going to be quizzed on anything. In case you've never done a deck study before, I just started doing deck studies with a fellow creator and friend here on TarotTube just a few months ago. So yeah, it's nothing that's going to be extreme or anything like that. It's just a place for us to share what we think about that deck. Maybe certain things, images are bringing up for us that's different than the RWS maybe meaning. I don't know, something along those lines. Get to play with your deck, get to learn about it with someone else and hear their opinions. It's just that kind of thing. It's nothing, you know, intense, and I don't want anybody to think that and therefore, you know, don't want to join because maybe they're afraid that it would be too much. So the link to my Discord, because that's where it's going to be, is on my Discord channel, will be in the description box below. So make sure that you join in with us if that's something that you're interested in doing. Okay, so let's dive into all the stuff that I did in the month of July. One of the big, huge things that I did this month is past life work. And I did it with 4 other creators here on YouTube. And it was the most interesting thing I really have been a part of lately. And I enjoyed this immensely. The thing is, I'm going to do a whole entire video that is just dedicated to how I use this deck, the other decks that I pulled in with it, the archetype decks that I pulled in with this, and how I did my past life readings, because it's a lot. It's a lot And if I did all that here, we would be here forever. So this is an independent deck, Uncover Your Past Lives by Mandy Peterson. I picked this up off of Etsy. The three other ladies that I did this with was Rochelle from Amethyst Ascension. She's the one that put this all together. And I'm so appreciative that she got a hold of me and asked me if I wanted to play along and do this with them. And then it was also Tony from Antoinette Tarot and Jewelry, and then it was Courtney from Aries Witchcraft. I'm going to try to link all their channels in the description box below, so you can check those out if you choose to. So basically this deck was our jumping off point for the past life. And then we did dive into each one of these categories. We discussed each one of these categories with each other and how it was playing out in that life. And what I enjoyed most about that was when you were doing it with someone else, they kind of like threw in other ideas like, oh, did you think about looking into that guy to see if he is maybe playing a role in your current life? Or did you look at the King of Wands in this manner? Did you think that maybe it could mean this on top of the meanings that you already came up with? It was really fascinating to listen to everybody's past life and to hear how they went about discovering it. So on these cards, there's identity, time frame, lesson, death, location, trauma, faith, and love. And then I pulled a card for each one of these things. And then you use your tarot and that to dive further into it, on top of if you want to use the back of the card or pull a whole nother card separately, because these are two-sided. And the thing I did when I was doing my past life work is I was specifically looking into blocks, things that I felt were blocked, or things that I am having difficulty with in this lifetime, to see if there is some sort of connection or correlation to it in a past life, a lesson that I hadn't learned yet, some sort of karma that is, maybe taking place, something along those lines. That was my purpose behind diving into the past lives. So instead of just asking, what past life is presenting itself to me, I actually asked, what is my past life lesson with this person that is in my life now? That was one. I explored the dynamic in a relationship with a person that's in my life, and I wanted to see what our dynamic was before. I also did one for like the block to abundance and why I can only go so far maybe in this life and never get over the hump of that mountain, and how that correlates to a past life. Is there a lesson that still needed to be learned? Is there something along those lines that I needed to like dive into? So to go into the past life that way with a driven purpose to flush out a block or to explore deeper a relationship in your life now and what may have occurred in another life before was very interesting to me. However, it brought up a ton of shadow. I mean, it really, really did bring up a ton of shadow work in the whole entire process of this. So it was a lot. It was a lot to dive into 4 different past lives for the entire month of July, because we did a different one each week. I think three of us did a different one each week, and one chose to explore one past life for the entire month, which I think is great also, because you can maybe go a little bit deeper into it. These readings took me a very long time to do because I was really thorough and took my time and sat with images of the tarot that I picked, or really explored the archetype that I had chosen, or whatever it was. I mean, they were hours long, but it gave me a lot of information, and it really gave me something to look into even deeper in relationships, or like I said, that abundance block, or whatever it was that I was focusing on, and maybe explore ways to break through certain things. So I'm really grateful that I got to hang out with these three other women and do this work with them for this month, because it was very enjoyable. And I learned a lot about it also. And like I said, I will be doing a whole entire video on this in the month of August. And I am going to tweak the past life reading a little bit from the one that I did with all of us. And I am going to eventually add this into readings that I offer. But don't look for that until sometime like in the month of September, because I need some time to think about it, and I need some time to decompress from the readings that I did. But yeah, I need some time to think about it and narrow things down, and figure out how I can get it in a more concise manner while still giving enough information to really give you something to look deeper into. So this was a huge part of my July practice. So another part of my July practice was diving into my water decks, and I just used water decks. I mean, I guess you can consider this mermaid, but it's only it's not like, I mean, it's only a single little write-up on the card, but I didn't go into any of my mermaid decks. I just wanted to work with the water energy for the month of July, and I'll tell you how I use these decks together. So let's start with the Flow Tarot by Rachel Torda. This is an independent deck. This is brand new to my collection. If you happen to watch my, oh my gosh, what was that called? Aspirational Tarot tag that I did participated in. This was a deck that I have been wanting so badly, and I got it on sale off of Etsy, and I'm so glad that I went ahead and I picked it up. So the way I used the Flow Tarot was I did a huge ebb and flow reading for myself this month, and I chose multiple different areas of my life to look at the energy that was moving away, and to look at the energy that was coming forward, and how that energy coming forward was affecting me, and how the energy moving away was affecting me. And boy, was that reading so insightful. I looked into relationships, I looked into abundance, I looked into my creative endeavors like my YouTube, I looked into business, I looked into all of that. That reading was huge. And the thing about using the Flow Tarot with that is I let this tarot be what it is. I didn't try to force it to fit into like the RWS meanings or anything along those lines. I took the keyword that was on here and made sure that I saw how that fit into the question of the reading that I was doing. I also went heavy into the guidebook because I wanted to read the write-ups about each one of these cards, and to, really see how it fit the situation. And after I read the write-up, I would scan through it again and almost in a bibliomancy style, pick out the things that just like really were hitting and sticking out to me, almost like they were illuminated in some way. And I used those as my answer to the question that I asked. And it was so spot on and really enjoyable to work with that way. And I really did like the write-ups in the guidebook for these cards, because I really wasn't sure how I was going to use it, because you know, as you know, if you've been here, I like people. I like people in my cards, and this is no people in the cards. So yeah, I really did use the guidebook. I let, like I said, the deck be what it wanted to be. I didn't focus in on RWS meanings, and really used like the keywords on here too as an added layer to the answers for my reading. And I am definitely going to be doing another ebb and flow reading for myself in the future, and not wait until July rolls around just because this is, you know, a water deck, to see, you know, where the energy's flowing, where it may be stagnant, you know, what's leaving, what's coming, that sort of thing. And I really enjoyed using the Flow Tarot for that. If you have the Flow Tarot, tell me how you're using it, because I don't want to like lock it into any specific only readings like sometimes I tend to do with my decks. I try not to, but sometimes it's really easy to lock a deck into something. So if you are using the Flow Tarot, I would love to hear how you're using it. Okay, I got interrupted, so I can't remember if I said what the names of these decks were, but in case I did or didn't, I could edit this part out. This is the Healing Waters by Rebecca Campbell. This is the Sea Soul Journey Oracle cards by Peppa Best. And this is the Sea Melodies deck by Jessica Lee. These are all mass market. So these were the decks that I used on a weekly basis. How I used the Healing Waters deck was I asked what energy is needing healing at this time in my life. And I would pull a card. So let's just say this is the one I pulled. King Tide, plenty, prosperity, receiving the fullness of life. And then I only pulled, I think, 3 Healing Water cards throughout the month. And then on a daily or every other day, I would pull one of the Sea Soul cards. And I would focus in on like the keyword. Okay, so let's say that the King Tide, I'll put this up here. The plenty, prosperity, receiving fullness, and my card of that day was gratitude. So I would focus in on the gratitude that I needed to show in order to notice the prosperity and the fullness that was already in my life. That sort of thing. That's how I worked with them together. So this has themes. There is the self-compassion section, the letting go, the moving forward, and the gratitude and awe. And like I said, I pulled 3 different healing cards for the month. Those would be a theme for like a week and a half. And then these were the supplement to it. How the Sea Melodies came into play was sometimes in the evening, I felt like I just needed a takeaway message from the day. I needed something to wrap up the energy of the day, or to give me something else to focus on, whatever it may have been. And that's when I pulled in the Sea Melodies deck. So, but it was mostly these 2 that played off each other. And I really enjoyed the way that they work together. I enjoy this Sea Soul Journey, which is a tongue twister in itself. But anyway, I enjoy these 2 decks together. And I'm glad that I have both of them. I didn't like fully explore this any deeper than the 3 cards that I used for it. So for right now, this deck is okay for me. I don't feel like there's anything I need to change about it, but I didn't use it for much more than those 3 cards that I pulled. So in my mermaid or water deck or whatever video it was I did earlier this month, I talked about wanting to read this Sea Magic, Connecting with the Ocean's Energy by Sandra Kynes in the month of July. And I did. I read it from front to back. You could see I dog-eared certain things and I highlighted different things throughout here. I really enjoyed this book. I really did. So if you are looking for a book to maybe work with some sea magic that you've never done before, you don't know exactly how to start, I think this is a good book to explore that. She talks about the ocean. She talks about what her experience was with it, when she felt drawn to it and that. But the thing I liked in here was, if you're not near an ocean, she gives you a recipe to create some seawater with some sea salt and purified spring water, or just spring water or something like that. You can make your own ocean water and use that energy from that to do some of the rituals that she has here in the book. So I really did like that, like the ninefold sea blessing, seawater preparation. I highlighted that whole section. There's about sea centering. That was a nice practice. There's ocean breath. And then we get into like the learning about the myths, the deities, and the saints. So there's that. There's a ritual you can do for working with some sea deities and saints, and she lists a whole bunch of different deities in here. Then there's some journal questions, altar tools, and divination. So she talks about sea altars. She talks about using seashells. Here's a wave blessing that can be done. Moon blessing of salt. So there's some really nice things in here. She talks about throwing calories, I think is how you pronounce that. The cowrie shell for divination. Then she goes into more about seashells and the different styles of seashell and what they can represent, and different ways that, you know, the association. So like the conch shell, association is knowledge, love, magic, speech, sacredness, vitality, wisdom. The deities are Devi, Vishnu, and Yamuna, I believe is how you pronounce that. And then there's uses. So this is a great reference book. Sea fetches, mine are the crab and the dolphin, and you know, just all kinds of things in this. And I just think it's a great, like I said, jumping off point. If you've never done sea magic before, you aren't near a sea, but you want to make some seawater and use that to tap into that ocean energy too. I really, really, really enjoyed this. I did start writing down a few things in my little notebook here. So the next time we go to the beach, I don't have to carry this big thing with me. I can just carry my little booklet here to do some ritual by the ocean side. And then I would have this here at home to reference. So personally, I recommend this book. I really enjoyed it. And I've done sea magic before. Like I said, I've done ritual at the beach before, and I really, really enjoyed this, especially like as a reference tool. I think this would be great since she has all those shells and deities and that sort of thing listed in this book. So if you happen to watch my video of neglected decks, decks that I rarely use, the unofficial Shitty Tarot was in that video, and I needed to explore some dynamics in some relationships that were happening around my life. It was just really interesting. I decided to break out this deck because if you remember, I said I was just going to tuck this deck away if you watch that video and use it as a collector's deck only because I love the series on TV so much. But I want to tell you what, this was a fantastic reader to dive into different relationships, to get the dynamic of a person and that sort of thing. I really had some very insightful readings using this tarot and looking into the aspects of situations with people. So if you happen to watch that, I just wanted to give an update on this tarot that I did find a use for it. 3 other decks that I used together in the month of July are the Aquarian Tarot, the Animal Apothecary Oracle, and the Pixiekins Inspiration deck. So I will have to say, I was pleasantly surprised with the Aquarian Tarot. And I can't remember. I think I mentioned this in another video already, that I thought this deck was cold and distant. And I really thought I was going to have difficulty connecting to the Aquarian Tarot in any form. But for the month of July, I used the Aquarian Tarot in creating power statements, which I got the idea completely from a challenge that I cannot remember who did the challenge now. But I used the Aquarian Tarot to do the power statements. And it was fantastic for that because this deck is very minimalistic and I was able to really, focus in on keywords, key ideas to put into that power statement phrase. And it just worked beautifully. And then how the Animal Apothecary deck comes into play is after the power statements were made for like Monday of the week, then the animal energy would come in on Wednesday to support that power statement. And this is what was done in my private member group that I have. And then Friday, we would wrap up the week with the Daily Inspirational Pixiekin deck. And it was just beautiful how all 3 of these decks had that cohesive meaning and synchronicity with one another, that they played so well off of each other, and just like they were the closest of buddies and, finishing each other's sentences as the week went on. That's what it almost felt like using these 3 decks together. And I really, really enjoyed that practice. And my members did too. They really liked the idea of a power statement kind of thing. And then pulling in that advice from the animal energy in the middle of the week. So like 3 of Swords and claim your power. And then do more of what makes your spirit radiate rather than sitting in that pain. So it was just a beautiful combination. I have not read this book that came along with this at all. The Psychic Tarot book, I've yet to read it. Haven't even picked it up. I've just started working with the cards and getting to know the cards before I look into that book and everything. And I had too much else on my plate to explore that this month. But yeah, this is a great pairing with one another. In case you happen to own all 3 of these decks, I would try pairing them out together because they work really, really well with one another. The last 2 decks that I'm going to show are 2 decks that I won in a giveaway from Rochelle at Amethyst Ascension's channel. I've never been so excited in my life to win anything. I never win anything. Anything I've ever tried to submit my name for, I never get picked. So the fact that I won these 2 decks and wanted this Aphrodite tarot so badly had me giddy like a schoolgirl. And so they're both by Natasha, is it Fromm? Is that how you say her last name? And it's the Tarot of Aphrodite and the Musings of Aphrodite. And I separated out some of the cards here to show you. I'm going to try to do like a deck chemistry video with these 2 decks later on, but whenever I have time to film that. In case you're new, I have been working with some Aphrodite energy over the past few months. And I've tried different decks with her to work with that energy and to get the most from that. Most of my work with her is through candle work, little intention settings and that kind of thing. But I really did want this tarot to do more maybe in-depth readings with her energy specifically, since this is geared towards her. And so yeah, when I, oh my gosh, when I won this, I can't even describe how excited I was when my name was picked for that. So that was super, super exciting. And I'm sure many people have seen this deck already, because I think this is the 2nd edition of the Aphrodite Tarot and the 1st edition of the Musings of Aphrodite Oracle. I think that is it. I think I've covered everything. Don't forget that if you have a question for me to add into my channelversary video that I'm getting ready to film here in the next week, please leave it in the comments below. And if you want to participate in deck studying the Ehrenberg Tarot, click the Discord link in the description box below. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, please think of subscribing. I would love for you to join my little group here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. That always helps my videos be seen and my channel grow. And until I see you next time, bye.